guests, David Coulthard and Eddie Jordan. Guys, good to see you. We weren't expecting this today.
Guys.
Yeah. You were in the building to your Formula for Success podcast, chatting to Big Alan Brazil today, David.
Yeah, well, look, I'm really happy you've asked me a question, because normally I can't get a word in edgeways with EJ. When we've been doing this podcast now, we've done over 60 of them. We're normally running about an hour in time, and that's like 60 odd hours of my life I'll never get back. But I've got to say, I thoroughly enjoyed sitting, listening to Eddie and Alan sharing stories, not only about football, which is a great passion of EJ, of Eddie sitting here beside me, but of horse racing as well. And you know, two things I don't really know a great deal about. I've never been to a horse race, and I've only been to a few football matches in my time, because I was from the southwest of Scotland. Our local team was Queen of the South. Right. So, you know, they weren't, let's say, a brilliant team in Dumfries terms, but not in international terms.
The interest in Formula One is massive at the moment. We talk about Drive to Survive and things like that, but I don't think it's ever been higher, even though the actual race for the championship not that close.
No, it's not. And some people, if you're not a Red Bull fan, go, this is not good for the sport, one team dominating. But if you look through the history of sport, there's always a period where one football team dominates for a while, or one boxer or whatever. And if it's your favourite team and your favourite boxer or your favourite Formula One team, you don't mind. But nothing lasts forever in sport, as we know, and there will be a change. Right now it's Max Verstappen, Red Bull, but Mercedes are working hard, Ferrari are working hard. They've signed Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, absolutely, that's right. We'll come back to the F1, but Eddie, I wonder, over the years, have you been Braziled, or have you Braziled Brazil?
No, he is a nightmare. I mean, I took out special insurance coming here today, because I thought I had to make up a hospital appointment to get away from him, because we relayed something. I remember going to, because his passion is, of course, not just football, but horse racing, and Cheltenham is every Irish person's passion. And I'd arranged to meet him at 11 o'clock long before the first race, and in a certain place, obviously the Guinness Bar. And I saw this table, and it was a magnificent sight. It was full 12, 20 pints, all
because everybody buys him a pint, don't they?
Well, I think I didn't buy him one, that's for sure.
Eddie never buys
as he told
anyone
everyone, because Formula One people don't spend money, don't mind. Like Coulthard, they hoard it. And but anyway, I asked him, had he got a whole group of people coming? He said, no, they're for us. And I mean, he is a savage, but when it comes to it, but he has such stories. They were fantastic. We talked about people like Strachan and all of the players that he's played with, and you know, Brian Robson. We had to get on to Roy Keane at one stage, which didn't go down very well. I think he moved away from that very quickly. His stories were legendary, and I was in total awe, because sometimes you've had me on here doing the Grand Prix after on the Monday morning, and these guys are still travelling, and I'm usually around. If I'm here, I do it with you. And I have to say that having Alan Brazil and McCoyston and all of the stories that they've got is fantastic. And as David said to him, he said, look, you need to do, there's a Drive to Survive thing already, that you would have your story on Netflix. I mean, it would make an amazing story.
Drink to survive. I mean, that's what he does. I mean, if he stops, that'll be the end of him, probably.
Popular. Eddie, you're a regular at Chelsea. I've seen you many times walking down Fulham Road. I know you live in the area, and it's been an interesting season, isn't it?
Well, I'm actually, you know, when I first came from Ireland, I was based at Silverstone, and so Chelsea were not my first team, because my first team was Coventry, and I wished them well for the weekend. My God, against Man United in a semi-final of the Cup, that'll be heady days for them. And that's how I asked Strachan to go to Celtic as manager. It was as a result of that, because he went from there to Southampton. So I didn't take him from Coventry; he'd already left for Southampton. But he then went and had a stellar performance at Celtic, and that's what Alan and I were talking about. All of those great names that he knew, and of course Liverpool, Man United, and I grew up in that era, and you know, David was always a motor racing guy, but coming from Ireland, and I started racing very late in my life, so football was all around you, and you just had to have it.
Yeah. So David, we return to Formula One, and Ferrari going pretty well, you know, behind Red Bull at the moment. As you said, with Lewis going there, maybe the timing from Lewis's point of view could be right. Is it the signs are that they're getting the car right at the right time for him?
Well, he made the decision to leave McLaren, and actually Eddie, to massage his shoulders, the visionary that he is, he predicted that he would leave McLaren to join Mercedes at a time when Mercedes were not winning, but it coincided with the growth and then the dominance of that team. So maybe he's done it again. Maybe he's seen the future, because the sport changes a lot in 2026. The big regulation change on the engines and also the chassis, and he's clearly lost his belief in the Mercedes system, and he's heading off to Ferrari. And I never imagined it would ever happen, because he's been with Mercedes since he was 12 years old in karting, can you believe? But it just goes to show that there's no loyalty in sport.
Yeah, yes.
Well, there's other issues as well. I think personally, we talked about it last year. I think he lost his mojo. I think Russell was very strong and was a very serious competitor to him. So I didn't see it as a big problem, and I think, to be very honest, it will be a very good decision by Lewis in time. Time will tell us that he did well.
There's going to be a lot of eyes on Shanghai, Eddie, this weekend, because to have a successful Chinese Grand Prix with big crowds, and they think post-Drive to Survive the interest is going to be up. I mean, how important do you see it for the sport to have a big, because if you can get a sport popular in China, it's a big deal.
Well, we were very fortunate because I went there first. The Chinese people, I was sponsored by their national television station, so they can get into it and they want to get into it, and they've certainly got that track was built in a matter of months. If they put their mind to build a new hospital, which they did, I think, during COVID, and it went up in days, because they just swamp people on it night and day. They have a different philosophy and an outlook on life, and it's not better and it's not worse, it's just different. And I have to say, I like the track. I think they have grandstands everywhere. I think if they do fill it, it'll be a monster crowd. And I've every expectation that, it's the first time we're going back there. Is it 4 years or 5 years or something? 5 years. And I would expect that it will be pumped up and promoted to such a very high level that we expect the place to be full. And Formula One is filling everywhere at the moment. I mean, we saw last race was Japan, and before that Australia. Almost 500 million people turned up in Australia. Just heady days, and with the price of the tickets, just mad.
Yeah. I mean, if it is successful this time, David, I would imagine they've got to then find room in the schedule to make it happen again, because it's getting busier all the time.
It is, 24 Grand Prix. When I started in Formula 1, there was 15 a year, but then we were testing all the time. There was test teams, so we were kept plenty busy. I just have to come back to, only an Irishman could turn a crowd of 400 over 4 days into 500 million. 400,000 into 500 million. You've done a bit of rounding up,
but I think you basically know what I was talking about.
I got your point. I know you got a bit of emphasis on there.
Thanks for showing me up yet again, David. Thank you.
So, isn't that more people that are actually in Australia?
Yeah, quite possibly.
Never mind.
You're off to Washington, we understand. You're going to be driving an F1 car once again.
I am. I'm going up and down Constitution Avenue, and I'm saying that like I actually know where Constitution Avenue is, but apparently it's close to all the major Capitol sites, the Capitol building. So I'll be out going up and down and round in circles on Saturday. So I head out there tomorrow. Entertain the Washington DC crowd, so it's DC and DC, which kind of tickles me. Nice. And then I'll be back in time to head to Monaco for the Formula E race, which is in Monaco next weekend. We've got 3 race events. This is how big motorsport is now. We've got the Monaco E-Prix, then we've got the Monaco Historic Grand Prix, which is fantastic for the purists. If you love the James Hunt cars or the Fangio cars or the race cars from the previous era, and then of course the Formula One Grand Prix as well. So 3 races in Monaco. Whoever would have thought? There only ever used to be one.
Wow.
We once had a race we were staying in Nice. And we had a race to your old hotel in Monaco.
Yes,
Columbus.
And he's got a thing about helicopters. And we raced who could get there. Of course, our helicopter was held up at Nice Airport, and Andy won on the train.
I got there first.
Very scenic route.
No way! I can't believe it's only 7 minutes in the helicopter.
I know, but they delayed us for half an hour.
It's a beautiful train journey as well.
Yeah,
lovely, right along the coast.
Trains
the
in
Mediterranean.
France are amazing.
Yeah.
Everyone goes by train.
And it's only a 90-minute flight from London. It's very accessible, the south of France, isn't it?
Just finally, how would you have felt about driving in the Drive to Survive era? I mean, how would you have felt about having cameras follow you around everywhere in the heat of battle, as these guys do?
Yeah, I think this young generation, they're so used to social media and engaging with their fans directly. My era was a press release. It was literally you gave a quote to your press officer, they typed it up, they took it to the press room, and then that's what was fed down the wire. So it was a different era. I loved the era I raced, and I suspect a lot of people that have in any sport, whether it's Alan Brazil in his football era or I'm sure Max Verstappen loves his era right now. But that said, he doesn't really engage with Drive to Survive.
No.
He doesn't really feel that he wants that social recognition, but acknowledges it's part of his modern contract. So I guess it's all horses for courses. No complaints on my side of my time. I probably was best not being on the Drive to Survive era. That said, I think EJ would have been a star.
I was just going to say, you would have loved it, wouldn't you?
I would have hated it.
Oh man, you love the spotlight.
So, talkSPORT has a new admission here insofar as I have never watched 1 minute of Drive to Survive.
Oh, really?
I can't do it. It's the same as, if for example we had a race, I can't rewatch it. And
Even when you won Grand Prix.
I've seen clips, but only because it turns on when it's on, and it's part of my promotion when I'm doing
really?
a
Is your
show.
nose getting longer, Pinocchio? You've never watched
my
Jordan's
my
first...
nose is large enough. You don't have to worry. You need to worry about your own.